Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to another watch chat with our in-house watch enthusiast Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, man? And what are you wearing today?
Doing well, Rob. Thanks. I am wearing my vintage Vulcan Cricket on a
Very
NATO
nice.
strap.
I was
Thank you.
wondering when you're going to pull that out. Been told me about it a couple times, and I've been looking forward to seeing that. And hopefully one day, when everything passes, I'll get to see that in person, man. Awesome, awesome vintage watch. Um, I'm wearing, for this, especially for this topic tonight, my Zinn 856 UTC. I believe the last time we talked, I hadn't gotten in the mail yet, but I got it the next day. I sent you a picture as soon as I got it. Did the unboxing video, and then I just recently posted the review, and I was really, excited to do that review, but a little nervous about it too because I really like that watch, and I've hyped it up so much to myself that I wanted to do the best I could. And I don't know if you read any of the comments, but there was somebody was very critical. I had missed a couple of things. I
I didn't see that. I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
it's one of those things where when you do these videos, there's always inevitably, for me anyway, something that I let leave out. So like and this person who brought up some valid points. I talk about this UTC, and I don't even show how to set it. I
I
typically,
didn't.
you know,
I saw the follow-up video though, which is
yeah,
nice.
right, right. And then the title was like it's the best travel watch, and that person wasn't satisfied about how I concluded it at the end, and I thought I gave some good points, but I guess I didn't tie it up in the end like I should have. But anyway, so a couple of weeks ago, Ryan, you and I were talking about German watches, and what we thought was going to be a short conversation almost ended up being a half-hour conversation, and I feel like we haven't even touched the surface, right? We
Uh,
talked about certain brands. But I'm glad we got back together tonight because, we're still going to be talking about German watches, but we're going to get more specifically because you're interested in one in particular. Which watch are you interested in as a possible next purchase for you?
it was the Sinn 556A, and I was pretty much I would have bought it had they had it at Watch Buys Roadshow, and then I ended up leaving, and then about a month later haphazardly ended up picking up a big pilot,
Right.
and I think that kind of exhausted my watch funds for a while. But
Right.
the 556 is very much on my radar, and I probably will acquire that at some point in the near future. Nonetheless, it has a huge competitor. I
Yeah.
think I shouldn't say a huge competitor. I will say a competitor that is viable for overtaking it in terms of specs, but we could discuss that. But it's the Damasco DS30.
Right.
Um,
Right.
that
And
watch, specs wise, we will get into it, but they are both German watches with very similar dimensions. But there's a lot we could discuss as we go forward. But those two watches are, I guess, very good. They're head to head in many respects. A lot of differences, a lot of similarities, and then some differences.
Yeah, and I will overlay some images on the video when I upload, so you guys will see which two watches, if you're not familiar with either one of them, we're talking about. And Damasco is I wouldn't say it's a relatively new brand, but they've been around for around 25 years. They came around like in the mid 90s, I believe, and they are also made in Germany, as Ryan pointed out, and they also, like Zinn, have great tech. And they're almost competitive in the same price range, I would say. A lot of their watches overlap. Um, what I like about Damasco and why I think it's a little bit different than Zen. Well, it's not. First of all, it's not as well known. I think you would agree with me on that, Ryan.
Yeah, the brand reputation. It's not that it has a bad reputation; it just doesn't carry the heritage and history of Zinn. But that doesn't mean it's any less. It's
Right,
just not as new. It's not
but
as old, I should say.
right, and to that point, because it doesn't have that heritage as the heritage that Zen has, I think you may have noticed, and maybe you could expand on this, that there's a possibility that when you're comparing the 556 to that D830 or DS30, um, while the Damasco might pack a little bit more of a punch, right?
Yeah, I think you definitely there's a value proposition inherent in the Damasco line when you compare the two watches. So I know you put some picture overlays up, but specs wise, in terms of dimensions, the Damasco is slightly larger at 39, and the Sinn is 38 and a half. They both have 20 millimeter lug width, and Damasco is slightly thinner at 9.95 versus 11 on the Sinn 556. It's a 47 lug to lug on the Damasco and a 45 and a half on the Sinn. So spec wise, that dimensions, they're very comparable. Each of them have sapphire crystal. They are coated both sides. It's the case that's the big difference.
Right.
And well, actually, before we get to the case, the unfortunately, Sinn is really no longer, it doesn't seem that they're getting the ETA 2824s in their lines anymore, while the 556 used to have an ETA 2824. They're now stocked with their Sellita SW200s, which I guess are considered to be a clone of the ETA 2824. If I had a preference, I'd probably pick the ETA. I'm not saying it's better or I don't know that it isn't comparable, 100% comparable, but obviously ETA has a long history, so I would probably prefer that movement, but I don't think there's really a major difference that I'm aware of in terms of either one of them being viable as a durable workhorse movement that'll last and be highly accurate. But
yeah, and I'm sure Sinn modifies it somewhat, and
sure.
there's always like Sinn I'm sure has a couple year warranty on their watches. I'm on the same camp as you are. I prefer ETA, and I really feel like I can't really give a solid argument why, right? I mean, I know anybody could poke holes on it. Well, SW, the Sellita is a great clone of it, just as good. People have said they haven't had problems ever with the Sellita, and I'm sure that's the case. I just don't know. I just have this unexplainable preference, and I think to your point where you said the history. The ETA has been around for a really long time. That's 2824, and yeah, I mean, I think that's just my preference. But whatever. I mean, it wouldn't hold me back from getting the 556.
No, especially for that level of watch. I don't think I'd be complaining. Obviously, I wouldn't expect it to have the same caliber of movement as I would in a Rolex in
Right.
some manner, or any Rolex for that matter, price point wise. But I wouldn't have any reservations about it. Obviously, if I could have the ability to get a new one with an ETA, I would pick it. But
Right.
other than that, I think they're comparable. But it's the cases of these two watches where things get interesting. Now, the Sinn has a stainless steel 316L satinized finish on its case. The Damasco, as you know, has the submarine hardened steel,
Yeah.
which is corrosion proof and has anti-magnetic properties that are. Now, the Sinn also has some anti-magnetic properties to the casing, but it has a display back, so that's going to reduce the anti-magnetic quality, and they both have some shock resistance. But it's that hardened submarine steel that is a huge bonus for the Damasco. It's going to be extremely durable
Right.
and scratch resistant, highly scratch resistant because of it. It's an ultra hardened case. So that is a nice piece of technology that's being offered in that watch. The other is there's a patented lubrication system for the crown. That's a nice bonus too.
Right.
And I know we spoke about this last week where they said that everything's over-engineered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is an example of it. I mean, to the average person, I don't think we're ever going to really need to have ultra shock proof, huge anti-magnetic, but it can come in handy depending upon what industry you're in with. I think lots of computers and stereo equipment give off tons of magnetic fields and things of that nature that could offset the movement.
Now, so and just to finish up, I have a point that I would like to make, but the case of the 556, I mean, you do have that nice little exhibition case back, and I think the water resistance is much higher on the 556. I think it's 200 meters as opposed to the Damasko, the 30. It has 100 meters. But now here's another question, though. Here's something maybe that we can talk about a little bit. I don't know if we want to go there, but is that Damasko, is it more of a fair comparison to make it with the 856, the non-UTC? Because the 856 has that tegmented case. It has all the other technologies that Sinn offers. Would that be a fair comparison?
I guess in a certain respect, it could be a more fair comparison.
I mean, price-wise, not. I mean, the Sinn
No,
is way more expensive than the 856, even on the leather strap. I think it's like 1900. So we're
yeah, I
looking at
mean,
an $800 difference.
yeah, I mean, if you were to compare, like even price-wise, I took a quick look. The Damasko is being offered for around $963 on leather
Yeah.
strap. You can get a five. This is the interesting 556 eye on a leather strap is $1,140 at
Mm.
watch price, and that's a chunk
It's a
more.
big enough jump. Yeah.
You're getting less,
Right.
arguably. However, you know, I would compare. For me personally, I like the A dial of the 556, and if I were to compare
Mm.
the two, I like the dial much better. But then I would also get it on the bracelet, which brings the price point up to 1350, 13.
That's not a
13.
bad jump. That's not a
No,
bad
for
jump for bracelet.
the bracelet itself is really nice. I happen to be a huge fan of that H-Link bracelet. I love it.
Mm.
But
Because if you look at the DA36, right? And I'm not saying to compare the DA36, but if you look at the DA36 on leather, I think it's like 1100 or something like that, around 1100. If you look at it on a bracelet, right, that same ice hardened bracelet, you're looking at a jump of $700.
yeah,
So
I saw it's expensive for the bracelet, but
yeah,
it's you know,
where you don't get that big of a jump from the 856 leather to the 856 bracelet. It's like a
no,
$300 jump.
yeah,
I'm,
the bracelet. It's definitely more reasonable to buy the Zinn with the bracelet.
right,
I would absolutely do that every time because if I want it, I could have it, and then you
right,
also have the. They're easy to swap out too because
yeah.
it has the. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but
That's okay.
uh, they're easy to swap out though. I would probably get the bracelet just
Yeah,
because it looks great too.
yeah.
Um,
But the
but I,
556 on bracelet, that $1,300 and change, I still think it. I mean, what you're getting there is you're getting, okay, you're getting some additional water resistance. Is that big of a deal? I'm not really sure, especially because we're not talking about dive watches here. But you are getting heritage, right? You're paying for the name, and sometimes that's okay.
there's also a versatility to it as well. I mean, the
Hmm.
dial.
Yeah.
So the Damasco dial is it's I like it. I like it a lot
Hmm.
actually. On the brown leather strap, I think it's fantastic, and you're getting a huge value. But it's a lot sportier, therefore it's not as
Right.
versatile. I could easily see myself wearing a 556, you know, on strap or on bracelet to court with a suit, and not even thinking twice. I probably wear a lot of watches, and I have in the past. But as far as versatility, some people don't have the um, thick skin I do.
Hmm.
I'd probably wear an orange rubber strap. If that's what I want to wear, I'll wear it. But
Right.
some guys wouldn't do that. So from a versatility perspective, you could really wear that 556 with the bracelet, go anywhere, do anything. The Damasco dial is a little more unique. It has this crosshair type
Hmm.
thing
Hmm.
going on, and it's just not as versatile. It's
Right.
just not. It's the 556A. It's beautiful actually, and it's more conservative, but and understated. But there's a certain beauty in that simplicity that
Yeah.
I really desire, and that is classic German styling. Whereas the DS is definitely not. However, I really do like it. But
Mm.
interestingly, even though it's slightly larger, I find the legibility to be significantly greater on the 556.
Oh, yeah,
A
of
in
course.
particular, the
Right.
legibility. So And that's one of the attributes of the watch that really drew me into it. As I got into the pilot watches in particular, that dial is really fantastic. The proportions are just great. And you lose a little bit of that on the DS, but it does look really nice as a sportier watch with the brown leather strap in particular. It looks great.
Now, a couple of points here. So I agree with the 556 being more legible and more versatile. It's almost explorer-esque, right?
Yeah,
World explorer-esque kind of in that sense,
absolutely.
that you can wear that watch casual and dress it up. Now, and we both agree on that. And here's another question though. Could you own a 556 and own that Damasko DS30 at the same time? Like, are they different enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I were to get, I actually, as I was looking tonight, again, I've seen the DS, many times in the past, but I was looking again, and I really like that brown leather strap that they sell it with, and it's a great combo, and I always want to get a watch that I could have on a brown leather strap, and somehow I always end up getting. We talked about this with the blue dials too. I love blue dials, and then I always end up getting black.
Right.
And this has happened. I wanted a really cool beat up brown vintage looking leather strap for watches for a long time, and just it always ends up that I go the other direction at the last second.
Yeah.
And I happen to really like the way this looks together, and it'll be a fantastic watch. And I know from the Sinn forums, lots of guys will get the A dial and the I dial on the 556. Like, you got to have both.
Right.
I don't know if I would do that, but I understand it. But I think comparatively, though, if I were to, I think I would take the DS over the 556i. But then again, I look at the 556i, and and they look really nice too, though. So it's very hard to pick one.
Well, the nice thing about having right, but the nice thing about having the 556, the one that you're looking at on a bracelet, you have that versatility. You have that that Sinn name. You have that great quality watch. You get the Damasko, and you also get the tech, right? And you get a watch that that you'll probably end up wearing a lot more than you think, right? Especially because you can always save that 556 for a special occasion, or you can wear it all the time, whatever. But you'll probably wear that Damasko more than you think, because you know what? It's tough. It's really, really tough, and you don't have to worry about being rough with it, because you could be.
That is true. I mean, I wear the Big Pilot a lot now. I wear the Big Pilot a ton, and I'm always in the back of my mind a little cautious about my hand movements, which is probably a good thing. I mean, even if I had a 556 or an 856, I really don't want to bash it. I think every one of my watches has hit a door handle many times on the crystal, thankfully, and everything's been great. But yeah, it would be nice to know I'm not going to scratch it up like you can with the 856. Now you're very unlikely on that tegmented steel to cause a lot of damage. But we were talking about the 856 in comparison, and for me, this is the issue I have on the non-UTC. We're getting a little off, but not really, as to why I like the 556 better. When I tried both of them on at the same time, I found that the 856 non-UTC had a little, and it's only slightly larger. I think it's 40 millimeters versus 38 and a half. It's only slightly larger, but it seems to have a little too much dead space where the dimensions are just a tad bit. And I looked at the 556, and it just seemed perfect. But I hate that I'm not getting all the technology.
Right,
it does
right.
it does bother me a little bit. But
Yeah.
I just love the proportions of the watch, especially the having a little bit of a smaller dial was different for me, because barring this, which I really don't wear very often, and what putting your Black Bay 58 on that day really got the gears going for maybe a slightly smaller watch. But I just loved how it looked, and I felt that it was just perfect as is.
Yeah.
And it makes me forget that I wouldn't be giving up some of the technology that Sinn is so known for in their watches. But I think it's like tattoos, I guess, with people. You can't just get one.
Right.
I'm sure after I get the first in, I'm gonna have. I already know I'd love to have a U1, and I guess that's the beauty and fun of the watch collecting hobby too, is that you're always looking for the next one down the line. But I'm never in a huge rush.
Sure.
But so circling back to these two watches, I still have my heart set on getting a 556A, but looking at the price point and then realizing the technology that's being offered in the DS, comparatively from a value perspective, hands down, the Damasco just blows it away. You're getting a lot more for less. That said, it's not offered on a bracelet. So right away, it's not going to be as versatile, and the dial's a little wonky.
Right.
It's really sharp, but much, much more sporty and unique in that sense too, in that it's not going to be loved by everybody. It's
Right.
definitely a unique dial, but I think it's pretty cool. But from a value perspective, wow, I really wasn't expecting to go that way, but I have to say the clear winner would probably be the Diaz, but I still would probably, my heart set on the 556A.
So I don't think we got any closer. I don't
Well, what we did get closer. I've actually followed the Damasko line for some time now, and I really do like their stuff. I like the DC56 in particular, and this is where again you compare them to the Sinn, and they're similar in many ways, but they have certain unique characteristics, and I do like the look, especially of that model in particular. When I think about the chronos, I'm like, well, what do I want? And then I also want a big pilot chrono, but and then I compare some of the Sinn chronos, but I really do happen to like their product, and obviously they put out a great product. They really do.
I can tell you as a Sinn owner, there'll be a day where I own a Damasko. You know what I mean?
I think it's I think now you have the appreciation for the German watches. It's hard to compare a lot of the Swiss watches. They don't have, not all of them, but when I think of like a Rolex or an Omega, it doesn't have the same aesthetic and qualities as these German watches that are just real rugged.
Yeah.
And they're maybe a little less refined. They're not as dressy, perhaps. It doesn't have that characteristic of being the refined gentleman's watch, perhaps, as a Submariner, or but that's exactly why I like it.
Right.
It's extremely utilitarian. It has a militaristic sort of quality to it.
Very tactical, right? Yeah.
I really appreciate that, because despite wearing a suit and going to court, a lot of my life is much more casual in nature. And I don't necessarily want a dress watch. I have one. I don't really plan on buying more. I kind of appreciate that utilitarian, rugged quality.
Yeah.
And these German brands clearly deliver on that.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, another great conversation, and please definitely keep me posted on your next watch move. Is it going to be the 556, which I think it's going to be, or are you going to switch gears and flip the script on us and get the Damasko?
I mean, it's certainly possible. If I saw a great deal, that's one of the other things just real briefly, I think the Sinn might retain its value slightly more so than the Damasko, which also opens up that I might be able to get a great deal on one, and that would be hard to pass up.
Yeah. I got the search saved on Watch Patrol and Watch Recon, so when they pop up, I definitely click on there as quick as I can to see what's available. But thanks, man. Another great chat tonight. Guys, if you have any comments, if you have any preferences, do you prefer the 556 or do you prefer the Damasko? Please put a comment down below. Let us know what you think, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next week or so with another German watch video, Ryan. Maybe.
Absolutely, I think so.
All right, guys. Have a good night.